Another false promise is almost gone. The regular season of the National Football League comes to an end this weekend. And while we'll talk a little bit about the Jets and Dolphins, it's time to really look ahead, which, let's be honest, most of us as Jets fans have been doing for the last couple of weeks anyway. So we'll talk a little bit about what has been going on in the world in Jetsville, talk about the different roster moves that have been made, all that good stuff. But guys, you know what's up. It is the first show of the year 2025. It is Wednesday night. It's 6 p.m. and we are live. Welcome everybody to New York Sports WickerMedia. I'm Watts UK99, your party host. Thank you, as always, for taking the time to join me on the New York Sports WickerMedia channel. Happy 2025. We actually watched the ball drop together last night. Had a nice little crowd for the final show of 2024. And now we are back in the swing of things. We are back doing our regular time, our regular schedule. Wednesday night, 6 p.m. Eastern time. So I am pretty happy to be here. Yeah, Scott Foster, your party host. I may have stolen the line from Chris Jericho. Go with it. Yeah. I kind of was the host last night. Hey, I still got my party hat right here. So I could still always pull that out of the trunk if I need to. David D, hello. Good evening to you as well. Tony Alexio, the first one to show up. Happy New Year to you as well, and a better one for our Jets. I'd say, how could it not be better after what we've seen? But as we know as Jets fans, it can always get worse. No doubt about it. All right, so guys, we will get into some Jets talk in a few minutes. Reminder, hit that thumbs up button. Hit that like button. Help get the word out about the channel. It helps a lot. You know the routine. We get 15 likes or more. We will spin the wheel later on tonight. So will we spin the first random Jets wheel in 2025 tonight? Only time will tell. I do want to actually let everybody know about one thing here. A preview for next week's show. I'm going to mention this at the end of the show as well. Our New York Jets awards ceremony will be next Wednesday night. We will be giving out awards to Jets who deserve it. I mean that in both a good way and a bad way, so definitely you'll want to tune in. We'll roll out the green carpet for everybody. Oh, yeah. So dress up in your tuxes, your ladies, your evening gowns, all of that good stuff. Start making your predictions on who might win various awards, from Offensive Player of the Year to Play of the Year to Biggest Disappointment, all kinds of categories. I might even make up a couple of random ones if I feel so inclined. But the award show will be next week, second annual Wicker Awards, I guess, something like that. All right, we'll get into all of that coming up. But first of all, let's talk about what's on my mind in a little bit of what we like to call 3 and Out. 3 random topics going on in the world of New York sports. First thing I want to talk about is Pete Alonso. The contract has still not been signed as of this recording, but his options continue to dwindle by the day. Most recently, Josh Bell signed a contract with the Washington Nationals. Of course, Paul Goldschmidt to the Yankees, Christian Walker to the Astros, Carlos Santana stayed in Cleveland. And now you're hearing rumors about the San Francisco Giants, maybe even the Seattle Mariners getting ready to make a big offer for Alonso. I think Scott Boras knows there's not much interest around baseball in Alonso outside of the New York Mets. And if there was, I think the domino would have fallen by now. All these other first basemen have signed. And typically the best player, the most valued player at that position is the first to go. Look at, the starting pitchers. Blake Snell signed quickly. Max Fried signed quickly. All these other first basemen have signed as well. Juan Soto was pretty much the first major outfielder to go as well. The exception is Pete Alonso at first base. Now, the Mets offered him, from what we're hearing, I think John Heyman said it, 3 years, $30 million a year, and Alonso rejected it. He wants a longer deal, and I understand why, okay? But Pete is coming off a down year with 34 home runs, 88 RBIs, a career low on base plus slugging. He had a great moment in the playoffs that'll always be remembered, but the best thing for both sides is a reunion. I mean, think of that Mets lineup. Lindor, Soto, Vientos, Nimmo, Alonso, Alvarez as your top six, followed right now by Marte, either Mauricio or Beatty in third base, and then center field, Jose Siri, Tyrone Taylor. Maybe you could sneak in Luis Angel Acuna somewhere in there as well. But Alonso needs the Mets, and the Mets need Alonso. And I think it's a very close both teams need each other pretty much. Both sides need each other pretty much equally. As far as the New York Knicks go, well, they just completed 3 games in 4 nights, won all 3. They beat Washington 126-106 in the District of Columbia. Josh Hart, triple-double, 23 points, 15 rebounds, 10 assists. Karl Anthony Towns, 32 points, 13 boards. Knicks have won 8 straight. They're 13-2 in their last 15. They have killed it in the month of December. Basically, it's the kind of June that the Mets had. It's the kind of, I make a comparison to the August that the Jets had, because that's always their best month. August, the preseason games. Jets tend to thrive during the exhibition season. But the Knicks just half a game behind Boston for second place in the Eastern Conference. Their next game tonight, 7:30 against Utah. Jalen Brunson is a game-time decision with a calf injury. And Utah, not a very good team. They have just 7 wins on the year. After this, the schedule is going to kick up a little bit. The Knicks have the Thunder and the Bulls on the road back-to-back. So pretty important to get this win tonight in the Garden before they head back out on the road. And I do want to mention, it has been just over 1 year. It was December 30th, 2023. The Knicks made the trade for OG Anunoby and Precious Achiuwa when they traded away RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quigley. Since that time, the Knicks have played 56 games with OG in the lineup. They've won 43. That trade has worked out very well. Really has worked out well for both sides, in all fairness. Now, the third thing I want to talk about is this whole debacle with the MSG Network and Optimum Cable. So, as of right now, Knicks, Rangers, Islanders, Devils, Sabres, all those games are now dark if you're an Optimum subscriber. As of, I believe, January 1st, there was an impasse with the deadline, and neither side seems willing to budge over the carriage fees that are currently being paid by Optimum and their parent company to broadcast MSG. That, of course, is run by Jim Dolan. Who knows what's going to happen? But my father is about as depressed as he could be because he can't watch the Rangers, which to me, that'd be a blessing right now to not be able to currently watch that team. But it's really unfortunate. It's really unnecessary. These things, they should never get to this point because both sides know when the deadline date is. So, both sides are at fault that they can't make a deal. Neither side is willing to budge. And I really hope that if you're an Optimum subscriber, this gets resolved very, very soon. All right, let's get out of there with a 3 and out. Now, let's go ahead and turn our attention to the New York Jets. I want to say a couple of things. I'm not going to get too much into this game. We did a whole recap video on Sunday, but a couple of things that bothered me. The most accepted penalties the Jets have had since 2018, which was an overtime game. 16 accepted penalties, 18 total. Against Buffalo in the 2 games this year, the Jets took 27 penalties total. Okay, that is the most one team has had against a single opponent since 2015, 9 years. So the Jets, they tend to play Buffalo tough They tend to play Buffalo tough 1 game a year, and then they get their ass kicked in the other game. That's pretty much the procedure on how it works. But the Jets continue to play sloppy, undisciplined, lack of focus football, and it comes out that much more against Buffalo. And what is the Jets coaching staff thinking about with their use of Breece Hall? He had only 10 carries in this game, but I thought he was looking really, really good early on. The Jets were running the ball very, very well against the defense that's, pretty stout against the run. And they just basically take him out of the game. I don't understand the use of Breece Hall this year. He hasn't had 1 game all year where he's had 20 carries. It just doesn't make sense. You can blame some of that on Aaron Rodgers for audibles. You can blame it on the coaching. You can blame it on the team falling behind. You can send it a number of ways, but I think it's unfortunate Brees has been used as little as he has. And Hassan Reddick, oh my God, 9 games with the Jets. Here are his numbers. 2 quarterback hits, 2 tackles for a loss, half a sack, averaging 1.2 tackles per game. And did you see this game against Buffalo? I know most of you watched it. Did you see the way he was being used? He's being dropped back in pass coverage. I'm sorry. Since when did he become Rod Woodson or Charles Woodson? Or Darrell Revis? Did I miss something here? This is what the Jets traded him for? His pass coverage ability? Unbelievable. We know DJ Reed's hitting the market. Maybe the Jets keep Reddick and he's the opposite corner off of Sauce. You have got to be kidding me. And I don't want to kill Jeff. Oh my gosh. And Jeff Ulbrich talks about how unselfish he is. Get the hell out of here. Jeff Ulbrich just wants to be these players' big brother. He didn't know how to be their coach. He doesn't have the first clue. Where's the defensive coordinator we saw in Hard Knocks who was willing to tell players the truth? It looks like he's trying to juggle like 9 balls at once and prevent them from hitting the ground. He's coaching out of fear the entire time. Well, guess what, Jeff? It ain't working. And again, I don't want to kill the guy, even though I am. But it seems like the goal every week in these press conferences is to say something just a little more stupid, and maybe his nose will grow on the spot. Today, to say that Hassan Reddick is one of the most unselfish players he's ever come across. Oh my gosh! I almost went through the TV when I heard that. Oh gosh. Jeff Ulbrich, my gosh. And again, not all his fault. It shouldn't have come to this. It really all comes down to the owner, but we've been through that 100 times or more. The great Jets Mess channel member, glad you're here, man. Happy New Year, Mess. Glad that you're here tonight. All right, let's talk a little bit about the snap counts. I'm not going to do the whole comparison from last week since I was away. I think next week I will do a final snap count recap. So not how much each player played against Miami, but we'll look at overall offensive and defensive snaps, and we'll look where the respective players kind of finished up. So we go to the offense, 63 snaps on offense. Aaron Rodgers played 40. Tyrod Taylor played about a third of the game, got on the field for 23 snaps. Breece Hall played half the game, 31 snaps. Then you had Braylon Allen with 19, Isaiah Davis with 14. So what that means is you had one snap where you had 2 running backs. 31, 19, and 14 is 64 snaps. So there was one snap where you had 2 running backs on the field at one time. Wide receiver, Alan Lazard gets the most snaps of any wide receiver. Oh my, don't you just want to puke in your suit when you see that? Oh my gosh, I didn't notice him on the field aside from that one interception when Rodgers tried to throw that seam pass to him. But Garrett Wilson, 52, Devontae Adams, 48, Xavier Gibson, 9, and of course, Malachi Corley was active for this game, and he got as many snaps as everybody in this chat combined. 0. Nothing. I just hate it so much. Tight end, Tyler Conklin, 53 snaps. He just took another penalty about 5 minutes ago, I believe. Jeremy Ruckert with 21. Spare me. Kenny Yeboah got a little more time with 14 snaps. And, of course, everybody remembers that near touchdown on the pass that was thrown, in my mind, a little bit too low. On the offensive line, Max Mitchell, John Simpson, Joe Timmon, Elijah Vera Tucker play all 63 snaps. Carter Warren came in to relieve Morgan Moses, who left the game after 28 snaps. Carter Warren played 35, and I think he spent 30 of those snaps either on his face or on his ass after the end of the snap. And I just need to say this right now. I don't care if you're pro-Rodgers, anti-Rodgers. Either way, you can make an argument either way for him coming back next season, and I understand it. But what quarterback, unless you are like Lamar Jackson or Jalen Hurts or some quarterback who can run, you're Jaden Daniels, who's going to succeed when your tackles are Max Mitchell and Carter Warren, number 1, and number 2, when they're both playing out of position? Warren is more suited to play left tackle. Max Mitchell is more suited to play right tackle. What are we doing here? So again, when people say this is the worst Jets team they've ever seen, I say no. This is the most underachieving Jets roster I've ever seen. And again, it comes back to the coaches. That's why I'm on them so hard. Am I giving the front office a complete pass? No, I'm not. But I defend the front office a hell of a lot more than I'll defend the coaching staff. On to the defense, 70 snaps. Will McDonald in the lead with 51. Hassan Reddick, 40. My gosh, I probably spent about 20 of those snaps in pass coverage. My God. Michael Clements played 37. One of those, of course, was the nice pile-on penalty. It wouldn't be a Jets-Bills game without Michael Clements taking a stupid-ass penalty, would it? Javon Kinlaw, 34 snaps. Eric Watts got some time, 32. Not too bad. Quinn Williams only played 30. Clearly, he was hurt. I really don't think the Jets need to play him in the last game of the season. Solomon Thomas, 29. Bruce Hector, 27. Leonard Taylor, just 19 snaps. So the Jets really divided the snap count among their defensive linemen. At linebacker, Quincy Williams played the whole game. Jamian Sherwood played all but 3 snaps. Chaz Surratt played 12, and Sam Eguavoen played 1. And then at corner, you got DJ Reed at 69, Brandon Nichols at 41, Isaiah Oliver 39, Sauce Gardner played 28, Michael Carter played only 5. He's been hurt all season, and I even heard like Rich Cimini on his podcast take some shots at Carter as being a disappointing player. The guy's been hurt all year. Michael Carter would play 80-90% of every game last year. He's playing maybe 20 to 30% most weeks because he's beat up. I don't see why this is so complicated. And in safety, it was Chuck Clark. It was Tony Adams playing the entire game. Ashton Davis played 1 snap. Chuck Clark did break his elbow, I believe, but he did play the whole game, and now he's on injured reserve. So even though Chuck Clark has not exactly worked out, mostly due to injuries, you can't deny his toughness. So I do give him some credit for that, as he has all but certainly played his final game with the New York Jets. Let's say hello to Harlan Abraham. Happy New Year to you as well, my friend. Glad you had a chance to stop by tonight. So that's what's going on as far as the snap counts go. All right, let's talk a little bit of Jets news. What's going on? There's been a little bit of roster juggling going on. So we start with this. Phidarian Mathis was claimed on waivers. He is a 2022 second-round pick from Alabama. He has played 23 games in the NFL, 25 tackles, no sacks. He's had some injuries along the way. Now, he really was regarded as a very good run stopper when he came out of Alabama. But this year, he's been graded as one of the worst run-stuffing defensive tackles in football and has 17 tackles in 12 games. Not too great. But it is important to note that several teams put in claims on him. And good teams, Houston, Cincinnati, Detroit, all put in claims to acquire him. But of course, because the Jets do have the worst record, they are awarded Mathis, so he is here. Then another former Washington player is Jamin Davis. He was a 2021 first-round pick by the Commandskins. He is 26 years old, played 54 games in his career, 8 sacks, 11 quarterback hits, 6 passes defended, 287 tackles. So that's about 5 tackles a game, 22 tackles for a loss. So, not stats that are going to overwhelm you, but he is fast, runs a 4.37 40-yard dash. So he can go. So, hey, we're taking a chance. And I think Mathis is under contract next year. Davis, I don't believe is. I think this is his 4th year. So I don't know if the Jets are going to hold on to Davis, but I do think they will give Mathis a look next season. But again, when you're overhauling the front office, it's very premature to say, well, this is what the Jets are going to do in the draft. Well, this is what they're going to do with Aaron Rodgers. Well, this is what they're going to do here. We don't know until we get a front office in place what's going to happen. We don't know. So we need to back off the speculation on what the roster is going to look like next season. We really have no idea. We move on to Anders Carlson, and my gosh, he looks that arm. I mean, it's defined, but my God, does he look anorexic in that Auburn? I had to use an Auburn University photo because I couldn't find any photos of him in a Jets uniform. I don't know, maybe the Jets website scrubbed all evidence that he ever played for the Jets off their website. But he has been waived after another disappointing week. So, we have a little tradition when somebody leaves the Jets. We thank them usually for their time, but it is a business and we have to move on. So, Anders Carlson, as far as your Jets career is concerned,
he gone!
He gone is right. Anders Carlson, onward and upward. Kick him straight wherever you go, assuming you get another chance in the NFL. So instead, Greg Joseph is now joined the New York Jets and will kick this Sunday at home against Miami. 30 years old, played 6 seasons in the NFL with 5 different teams. He's basically giving Riley Patterson a run for his money, Tim Boyle a run for his money. He spent 3 years with Minnesota from 2021 to 2023. This year, he played 6 games with the Giants, 1 game in Washington. And so now, this will be the 5th kicker the New York Jets have used this season. One day, that's going to be a trivia question. Down the road, Greg Zuerlein, Riley Patterson, Spencer Schrader, Anders Carlson, and Greg Joseph. And who the hell knows? Maybe Joseph gets hurt and Thomas Morstead kicks at some point during the game. But isn't it funny Greg Zuerlein never even got in the game? I know he got hurt in warmups, but he never did a kickoff, never kicked an extra point, a field goal, nothing. Nothing at all. And with Joseph added, Chuck Clark goes on injured reserve as we refer to. We'll talk about DJ Reed in just a moment, but Billy SBC is here. I wanted to give him a quick shout out. I'm glad you're here tonight, my man. When a Hall of Fame quarterback is benched, that's saying his time as a Jet is over. Well, we'll see what winds up happening. Here's the thing. I think Rodgers plays Week 18. I think they're going to give him a chance to get that 500th career touchdown. Now, if Tyrod Taylor was starting the game, I would say yes, and that's the case. But I think Rodgers will play this game, and that will be his final game as a New York Jet. That is my thought. Swig of water for the working man and woman. Billy wants to draft the kicker. Yeah, it's always worked out pretty well for the Jets when they draft kickers, right? Oh, boy. Mike Nugent comes to mind, right? As a matter of fact, yeah, I'll take a quick look here. Let's look at every kicker that the Jets have ever drafted. I won't go all the way back, but yeah, who are the kickers the Jets have drafted over the years? There's only been 3, according to this. Mike Nugent, and then one guy in 1961, Fred Cox, and another guy in 1983 named Stu Crum, who never even got in the NFL. So, yeah, the Jets have only drafted 3 kickers in their entire history. Yeah, I can't make that a trivia question. That wouldn't even be fair. They should start Tyrod. Let's see him play a whole game. We already know what Tyrod Taylor is. There's no point. He's under contract next year. To be honest with you, it really doesn't matter to me all that much. But I think Rodgers at least starts to get him that 500 touchdown. I fully expect it as of right now. And again, Tyrod's not a rookie. We know what he is. He's got mobility. He can throw the ball against backups, and he's injury prone. That is Tyrod Taylor for you in a nutshell. Now, I want to talk about this DJ Reed quote because that's been making the rounds over the last 2 days or so. I think we're making a little bit too big of a deal out of it. I'm going to read the quote to you, and let's dive a little bit deeper into it and see what we can make out of it. So this is what DJ Reed said. I definitely want to go into free agency, and it's not because I don't want to be a New York Jet. People are ignoring that part. I definitely want to be a New York Jet, but I feel like they had the whole offseason and even throughout the season to extend it, and they didn't. I feel like for me personally, it would be best to go into free agency and see what's out there. What did he say there that's actually offensive? He didn't say anything negative about the Jets franchise, the Jets organization, his teammates, the fans. He didn't do that. He just said the Jets had a chance to extend him. They didn't, which I can't blame them for. And now since it's gotten to this point, he owes it to himself. This is probably the last contract he's going to sign that's going to be a multi-year deal. And he owes it to himself and his family to see what's out there. I don't put any blame on him for that at all. I really don't. I didn't expect DJ back after this year, especially not if you're going to play sauce. I think cornerback is going to be a position the Jets look at. I don't know if they believe in Quantas Stiggers, if the new regime will believe in a Quantas Stiggers, if they'll want to keep Braden Eccles, who, could come back for a lot less money. So it is definitely something to look into. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the current coaching search. I want to spend a minute on Ron Rivera. So he is going to be the first interview, and that interview will be January 2nd. It's going to be on Thursday. That will be the first interview. Now, the first thing I want to address is the Jets are doing this backwards, that they're interviewing coaches. The Jets have already interviewed 3 general manager candidates already. I don't have any problem with Tannenbaum and Spielman, the consulting firm. All right, this is not Woody Johnson or Jaime or freaking Fireman Ed or Iron Staten Island or you or me doing that interview. Okay, that's not what's going on here. But I don't have any problem with them doing a preliminary interview. So, because why not at least gather information? Rivera's been a coach for a lot of years. He's been a head coach for 13 years. Okay. Now, his record, very average 102 wins, 103 losses, and 2 ties. He's won double-digit games 3 times in 13 years only. The last time he had a winning record was 2017. That's almost as far back as the Jets have had a winning record. Okay. Since 2018, he's only been 38-56. 1 playoff appearance. That was in 2020 when Washington snuck in with a 7-9 record. But what Rivera does well, one reason I do like the idea is he has a reputation as building a culture from the ground up. When he was hired by Washington, former players like Josh Norman, Gerald McCoy, they supported it. And, they were talking about Rivera's style with some of these players, saying the best thing in their career is about to happen. So his former players really respect him. But the fact that he really hasn't gotten great results in a long time, it does bring up a little bit of concern. But would I bring him in as a defensive coordinator? Yes, I would. If he's willing to do that, I most certainly would. Jet says Reed will be a lot cheaper than Sauce. Yes, he will, but will he be better than Sauce? I don't think so. Reed's taken a lot of penalties this year, it feels like. He's had a number of pass interference penalties. Actually, you know what? Let's look that up on Jets Pro Football Reference. All right, so I'm just going to look up this. I think I can look up penalties, individual penalties here. I think it's on this website, but I don't know. Advanced stats. All right, let's try this. Okay, it doesn't seem like there is. I know there's like a website where you could probably pay and do it, but yeah, not the case here. All right, so yeah, but again, I mean, Sauce is younger, the upside's higher, so yeah, I think Sauce stays. Reed probably goes. Yeah, Iron Staten. There you go. Okay, and also Rex Ryan is expected to be interviewed as well. There is not a date there, but he basically said with Jake that he expects to be interviewed, so we'll see what happens. Now, a couple of things on injuries here. So Sauce left the game with a hamstring injury. He did not practice today. Also missing practice today was Ty Conklin, Morgan Moses, Elijah Vera Tucker, and Quinnen Williams. Why play any of them at this point? Just play some of the kids and see what happens. Let me see Zach Coots. Let me see. Well, there's no guard I need to see, but let me see more Leonard Taylor. Let me see more Eric Watts. Let me see more Kenny Yeboah. Let me see guys like that. Not that one game is going to ultimately determine if they're going to play a role on this team next year, but why risk injury with guys already beat up? And I would love Morgan Moses to come back. God knows he's fought through injuries since basically the end of September. But no need to play him anymore. Just stick in Max Mitchell like at right. Well, we know Fashanu's out, but to me, I would prefer Warren at left tackle and Mitchell at right tackle. That is how I'm feeling. So it gets to the point. The offensive line is getting so beat up. It's like, my God, let Rodgers get his 500 touchdown, then pull him and just put Tyrod Taylor in the game. That's about what I do. Harlan, Jets could get a kicker on the free agent market. They are not that pricey. Well, yeah, usually not that expensive. Let's see who might be available. Free agents by position. Oh yeah, we got a few here. Of course, most of these articles will not even acknowledge. It's funny. Pro Football Network has Hassan Reddick as the top edge rusher. How comical is that? Dear God. Yeah, I'll try one more way to do this. Trying to group it by positions here. Yeah, a lot of these are just offense and defense. So it could be a little spot track. Yeah, that'll give us what we want. All right. So all positions, kicker. Yeah, I can't expect Greg Zuerlein will be back. He's going to save some money. So as of right now, we know Nick Folk, who's 40 years old, Matt Prater, who's 40, Eddie Pinheiro is a free agent, Michael Badgley, Detroit, Joey Sly in New England. Got a couple guys you can bring in. And right now, like the most expensive one is Nick Folk. He's making $3.75 million. So I take my chances. But if you want to use one of those like later 6th-round picks to draft a kicker, by all means, go ahead and do that. So yeah, right now it's just a couple of guys, but a few of them are going to get cut as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about Tankathon. So this is going to be, there we go. So right now we're looking at 10 teams. All right, I've got the first 4 on the first slide because those are your 3 and 13 teams. So you got New England, Tennessee, Cleveland, and the Giants. New England well ahead on strength of schedule. Basically, they lose. They're the number 1 seed. They've got Buffalo. Now, one of the things you'll notice as we go through this, on the far right, I put the remaining game and the team's record. Most of these teams are playing teams that are in the playoffs, have double-digit wins. All right, it's not like these teams are playing head-to-head, which is a little bit disappointing. But New England's played Buffalo. They've got the 2 seed clinched. Tennessee is playing home against Houston. Houston's got the 4 seed clinched. Cleveland's playing at Baltimore. Now they're playing for a division. So if I had to bet on one game going a certain way, and this week's going to be tough to pick games, I'd probably bet on Cleveland losing. Giants hosting Philadelphia, and already it's been confirmed Saquon Barkley not playing. All right, so Philadelphia, you can't bench everybody, but they're going to bench some players. It's not impossible that the Giants could win this game. All right, so all of these teams actually have a 515 or higher strength of schedule. That's important. The Jets' strength of schedule is at an even 500. The point of that is if one of those 3 teams, Tennessee, Cleveland, or the Giants win and the Jets lose, the Jets are going to pass them in the draft standings. All right, so 3 of the teams you're in for this week, Tennessee, Cleveland, and the Giants. All right, now let's go on to the second page. So we got 6 teams here, 5 of them at 4 and 12. New Orleans is at 5 and 11. But unless they manage to lose and the Jets win, it's very, very difficult for the Jets to pass them. I'd be shocked if the Jets are not in the top 9. But we look at this strength of schedule. Jacksonville well ahead, 474. Carolina very close to the Jets at 496. Raiders 544, and the Bears at 555. All right, so judging by strength of schedule, Jets finish tied with the Raiders or the Bears, Jets will be ahead. The only team really that we need to look at for strength of schedule is Carolina. Now, both teams are facing 500 teams this week. Carolina plays in Atlanta, and the Jets host Miami. So it's really going to come down to these other games, these strength of schedule games, to see if the Jets can pass Carolina and move up from 7th in the draft to 6th. And it's going to take, I can't tell you for sure, it's going to take this, and the Jets move ahead. But I can tell you a couple of games that are going to matter. So let's go to the next slide. Here is your Week 18 rooting guide. So we got the 3-win teams, the 4-win teams, and the 5-win teams. Now, where I've got an asterisk, that is the team you're rooting for the Jets to have an advantage on Carolina. So in the upper section there, you're rooting for the Packers to lose to the Bears. Now, the Packers have a wild card spot clinched. They're really only playing for seeding, if anything. It's very hard for me to imagine Chicago going into Green Bay and winning. So then there are 4 other games that we got to look at. The biggest one by far is Saturday night, Cincinnati at Pittsburgh. Remember, the Jets have played Pittsburgh already. Okay, so we are rooting hard for Joe Burrow and company to go into Pittsburgh and knock off the Steelers. I think it's going to be a very tight, competitive game. I think it's going to be one of the tougher ones to call. But if Cincinnati can win, the Jets and Panthers should be virtually tied with their strength of schedule. Then we're rooting for Arizona against San Francisco. I will tell you this. I'm glad Arizona's at home. We do know a couple of things. We know James Conner will not play in that game. He's on injured reserve. And we'll see even if Kyler Murray play. We know Brock Purdy is out. Josh Dobbs will be a quarterback. Kyler Murray, I don't know if he's going to play in this particular game. Hank G stops by. How you doing, my man? Reminder, guys, hit that thumbs up if you haven't already. I definitely appreciate it. Also, we got Kansas City at Denver. We got to root for the Chiefs and the well, these wouldn't be the Chiefs. These would be more like the Indians because the Chiefs are not playing. All right. Patrick Mahomes will not play. Carson Wentz will. A little worried about Wentz going up against that Denver defense, but other players like Chris Jones, guys like that, George Karlaftis, Trent McDuffie are not expected to play in this particular game. And we know Denver needs this game to make the playoffs. So I think that's going to be a tough one. And the other one is the Minnesota Vikings at the Detroit Lions. And this is a situation where the Jets have played Minnesota. So we're rooting for them to lose to lower that strength of schedule. That's what it's really all about here. So we're rooting for Detroit to beat Minnesota. Is it, are we going to get, of these 5 games, how many are going to go our way? If we could get 3 of them to go our way, including Cincinnati beating Pittsburgh, then I'd say you take that and you run with it. If that happens and the Jets and Panthers finish tied, Jets ought to finish ahead of Carolina. That really ought to do the trick. All right. So yeah, let's do a quick check. Let's do a quick check here. All right. There we go. Volume wants to pop up on me. All right, we got about 10 likes. All right, we're doing pretty well. 11, we're getting there. We're getting there. We're not all the way there, but we are coming along. So thank you guys for that. All right, let's close that. Let's close that down. All right, and of course, we will do the trivia in just a couple of minutes, and it takes the 15 likes in order for us to spin the wheel. Okay, so let's do, I've got to add one more. Let's see, I got to pop one more slide back in here. All right, here it comes. Processing. All right, there it is. And let's remove that. Okay, let's do a little week 18 preview. Jets against the Dolphins. Here's 5 things to know about the Miami Dolphins. Man, you can tell that picture of Tyreek Hill was taken last season when he was actually productive. Oh, my God. A couple things to know about the Dolphins going into this game. Tyler Huntley is expected to play quarterback. I think he's a more than capable backup. He's not Tua. He doesn't get the ball out as fast as Tua, but it looks like it's Tyler Huntley, even though the Dolphins still have a chance to make the playoffs. Jonnu Smith, the tight end, has 7 touchdowns on the year. That is a team high. And remember, last time the Jets played Miami, they didn't even look at Jonnu Smith until overtime, and Smith just ran roughshod over the Jets defense. I can assure you they're not going to wait till overtime to throw the ball towards their tight end again. Miami's defense is 5th in third down conversion percentage. They're allowing offenses to convert 35% of their third downs. So Miami is good at getting off the field. Number 4, their linebacker, Tyrel Dodson. Now, this is not a player that I really knew very well, but the Dolphins have gone through a lot of personnel changes on defense. Last week, he was named Defensive Player of the Week. He was all over the field against Cleveland, 15 tackles, 8 of them solo, had a pass breakup, had a game-changing interception when he picked off a Dorian Thompson-Robinson pass. And I don't think any Dolphin defenders had 15 tackles in a couple of years, too. So Tyrel Dodson, that's a kind of a name that's floating under the radar, but has really had a good impact on that Miami defense. And then number 5, Miami makes the playoffs if they win and the Kansas City backups beat Denver. Personally, I'm hoping Cincinnati makes the playoffs, which would mean Cincinnati wins and both Miami and Denver lose. So that's what we pretty much have to look forward to over there. Yeah, I think that's about all we really need to do as far as the game preview goes. Hey, Sharon McLean, how you doing, my friend? Happy 2025 to you and your loved ones and friends. All right. Billy SBC, trade Sauce for a kicker. Arlen Abraham, are you for real? Yeah. Well, we appreciate the attempted humor. So what do you get? No, I trade him for a punter. Why not? Okay. All right, guys. Well, I'll tell you what. It's a little bit early, but why not? Why don't we just jump into the trivia? The last one of the regular season. And so far, the chat, I got to say this. You guys have done very, very well with the questions. You've gotten 11 correct and 6 down. And so this is going to be the end of the regular season. So every week, you know what happens. Of course, you know what happens. I go down into the labyrinth of Jets knowledge, of Jets history. I bust open the books. I pull up the websites. I leaf through the Encyclopedia Britannica. And I, Watch UK99, challenge you, the most loyal fans of the most loyal freaking godforsaken fan base in the National Football League. Just how much do you know about your New York Jets? So if you are ready, I don't want to wait, and I don't think you want to wait. Let's play Jets trivia. Okay, guys, now we all know the rules. I will show you a question on the board, and I will give you 5 minutes to answer the question correctly. And what you got to do is put what you think the correct answer is down there in the comments, and I will let you know in sort of my own way if you've got the question correct or not. But I just let us all be reminded at the end of a regular season what we're dealing with when we deal with this franchise, the New York Jets.
This is the New York Jets, where careers come to die and the worst memories of your life are born.
Okay, so on that uplifting note, yep, it is trivia time. Billy wants a kicker trivia question here. Well, I don't have one of those for you tonight, but I know at some point I will pull something out for special teams. Yeah, I should have done a Mike Westhoff trivia question since he was special teams coach for both the Jets and the Dolphins, shouldn't I? Yeah. That would have been pretty good. But it is a Jets-Dolphins related question. Probably next week we'll do some some potpourri. We'll start doing some draft questions. The draft questions are kind of fun to come up with. There's so many different places you could go with draft questions. Maybe I would do some Jets playoff trivia questions, except you have such a limited base to choose from. Okay, so tonight's question, it's going to go something like this. Shoot, not that one. All right, let me get rid of that one. All right, I know I updated. I think it's last week's trivia. Let's try that one again. Okay, remove. Add to the stage. Tonight's question. There it is. Name the 2 Jets with at least 400 career rushing yards who also played for the Miami Dolphins. All right, so 2 Jets who have at least 400 career rushing yards and at some point in their career suited up for the Fish down there in South Florida. Can you name them? All right, so your 5 minutes are underway. You guys have been doing so well. I had to kind of up the difficulty level just a little bit on these questions. Yeah, but we got a nice turnout in the chat. Got double digits right now, so it's pretty awesome. We're so close to the likes goal, guys. Just a couple away. Just a couple away. Yeah, and for those who weren't here last night after the trivia, I'll tell you the story of the NFL trivia. That story I had on the cruise, because that was an interesting that was a very interesting story. But I'm going to wait until the trivia is over, and I'll tell you that story. Okay, guys, what are your guesses? The 2 Jets, I don't see a correct answer yet, with at least 400 career rushing yards who also played for the Miami Dolphins. Hank G gets a little bit bold here with Ryan Fitzpatrick. Is Ryan Fitzpatrick a correct answer? It sure is. Ryan Fitzpatrick had exactly 400 yards on the ground. So he is one. One is probably John Riggins. John Riggins was not a Miami Dolphin. I think he only played for Washington and the Jets. I'm pretty positive. Yep, Jets and the Redskins. That was it. So John Riggins was not there. And then Sharon McLean comes in with Frank Gore. Is Frank Gore correct? It sure is. Man, you guys didn't even, you guys had that one done in about 2 minutes. That's what she said. Frank Gore and Ryan Fitzpatrick are the correct answers. Chat, you kicked the crap out of that question. So what can I say, guys? This trivia is a win for the chat. So 12-6 for the regular season. Very, very well done. Just a couple of other players who finished just under. Tony Page, the old Jets running back, ran for 397 yards as a Jet. And the GOAT, the greatest of all time, Chad Pennington, 396 career rushing yards. He, of course, did play for Miami for a couple of years after he left the Jets. Thought somebody might guess Pennington, but yeah, nobody did. So that is basically it as far as that goes. All right, so I'll tell you guys a quick story here. So I got back from my trip on Saturday, had a nice time. So one of the things we did was what was called the big game trivia. Now I see the big game trivia. My initial thought is, okay, this is going to be all about the Super Bowl because these companies with copyrights and legal reasons and all that stuff that's way above my pay grade. They call it the big game because you can't use the word Super Bowl unless you're like a sponsor or, that kind of thing. So they say the big game. So when I saw that, I figured, okay, this is going to be all Super Bowl questions. Well, the guy running it from the Philippines, I don't think he knows a whole lot about American football if he called it the big game. The first question was, who is the current commissioner of the NFL? As soon as I heard that, I said, this is not going to be what I had bargained for here. I mean, before this, I'm researching Super Bowl MVPs, coaches, Super Bowl cities, stadiums, all this kind of stuff. Who's lost the most Super Bowls, who's won the most Super Bowls. I was about ready to start looking at referees, okay? But it was just general NFL trivia. And some of them were tough questions. Like one of the questions was, name the average salary for an NFL player in 2024. Who knows what that is? None of us knew what that one was. I said $1.2 million. It turned out to be $2 million even. But yeah, some of these questions were rough. But here's where the controversy came in. Boy, this raised a ruckus, and I'm somewhat responsible for that. So the question was, and I'm paraphrasing it, name the oldest stadium currently being used for NFL football. The oldest NFL stadium that is still currently being used. Okay. He worded it however he worded it, but that is the gist of the question. Now, right away, my mind goes Soldier Field. As most of you know, I lived in Chicago for 20 years. I've been outside Soldier Field many times. I've been inside the stadium 2 or 3 times as well. And I know Soldier Field was built back in the 20s. Sure, it was remodeled, but it was built basically almost 100 years ago. So I was convinced that was the right answer. Nothing else even crossed my mind. We're going through the answers, and flamboyant Chris from the Philippines goes, it was Lambeau Field. That's basically how he talks, okay? God bless him. But when I heard that, I'm like, wait, Lambeau Field? What? Now, I know for a fact that the Packers played at a couple of other stadiums before they went over to Lambeau Field. There's no doubt about it. So I immediately start looking it up because I'm like, I could not have gotten that question wrong. I could not. I mean, I got a couple questions. I got like 2 questions wrong, one of which was the salary question. But I'm like, no, it's got to be Soldier Field. I look it up. I go to Fox Sports. I just Google oldest NFL stadium. I go to it takes me to Fox Sports, and it says right there, Soldier Field, 1926, Lambeau Field, 1957. Right there. So I take my phone up to him, and the crowd had no mercy on me at all. At all. But in retrospect now, I'm not mad at those people for getting on my case the way that they did. I actually blame the guy doing the trivia for having a subjective question. Here's what it comes down to. Soldier Field is the older stadium by 30 years. Here's the catch. When Lambeau Field was built, the Packers moved in right away and started playing. The Bears played at Wrigley Field until 1970, and then they moved into Soldier Field in 1971. All right. So that's the catch. Lambeau Field has been used longer for NFL games, but Soldier Field is older. So the point of that is it wasn't a good question. What they should have done is have either answer be correct, because it's all in how you interpret the question. So that was pretty crazy. So yeah, so basically I left. I didn't want to, deal with everybody kind of getting on my case. I was just like, I know what I did. Went over to the country music trivia and knocked that one out. So I won that one fair and square. So, but yeah, the trivia went pretty well, especially the music trivia. But that was the one sports trivia that we did, and it was just, yeah, it shouldn't have ended the way that it did. But you had teams it was like 4 drunk Cowboy fans getting on my case. Here I am, just the one Jets fan on board, kind of, doing my own thing. So what are you going to do? All right, guys. Well, we're at 14 likes. So if you haven't hit the thumbs up button and you want to do the wheel, you're going to have to hit it quickly. You're going to have to hit it quickly. So, but that's pretty much what's going on. So, and again, just to let everybody know, for anybody who's joining late, next week, we're going to do our New York Jets end of season awards. So we did this last year, and we're going to do it again this year. So I got a couple new categories in mind. So we're going to have some fun. So again, dress up, put on your tux or your tux t-shirt. Ladies, put on your evening gowns, walk the green carpet. It's going to be a star-studded affair. But when you have a year that's disappointing, it's just like, we're going to try to have a little bit of fun with it. And then from there, we'll start moving on to the off season, talk about the GM search, the coach search in more depth. We'll start looking at the draft, breaking down different positions, players in different positions, sleepers, team needs, all kinds of stuff like that. Okay, guys. Well, I'll tell you what, it's 6:52. Harlan, yeah, I heard JD was offered an extension but turned it down, and can't blame him. He knew it was coming. He knew. Yeah, he wanted out because of the environment that was created around him. It sucks. It really, really sucks. And I'll leave it there because, I'm one of the biggest Joe Douglas defenders that there is. I know it. I do try to be fair. I do try to be objective. But yeah, I can't blame him. And I've even gotten to it with other content creators this week about it. And, what are you going to do? So. Yeah, I don't blame him. It was basically, it was a mercy killing when they let him go. He went out deep sea fishing and he was finally relaxed. But yeah, when these articles came out that he was reporting to a teenager, that was reporting to Woody Johnson's son, basically, it just makes you sick. And that's what worries me. How many general managers can the Jets bring in who are as respected around the league as he was? Going to be hard. They'll be like, if they treated Joe Douglas that way, how are they going to treat treat GMX, Jim Nagy or Thomas Dimitroff, Ray Agnew, the assistant in Kansas City, you name the guy. Worries me. It worries me a lot. So I just really hope that they get the head coach search. You guys know who I want. I want Vrabel. I want Flores. Those are the two I have well above everybody else. John Gruden, Rex Ryan, fine. It is what it is. The Aaron Glens, even the Ben Johnsons, okay, fine, but it's not going to knock me out. Vrabel, Flores, unless somebody just magically gets let go, like a Kevin Stefanski, somebody like that. I don't expect it, but if that happens, then I'd be all on board with that too. So, but yeah, it's going to be a pretty extensive process. I don't expect anything to happen until right around the Super Bowl, because the Jets are going to be interviewing as many candidates as they can. But again, Vrabel, Flores, my top 2, GM, whatever happens, happens. But I did on the prediction show last night, New Year's Eve, my prediction was the Jets would hire Ray Agnew as their GM, hire him away from Detroit, and then their head coach would be Aaron Glenn. Because if the Jets aren't able to make it work, if they aren't able to bring in one of their top choices, then they are going to bring in somebody who they think they can sell to this beleaguered fan base. And it's hard to do much better than Aaron Glenn, a former Jet, somebody who's known for being tough on his players and holding players accountable. Because God knows Robert Saleh did not do it enough. And my God, Jeff Ulbrich makes Robert Saleh look like Vince Lombardi in terms of temperament and accountability. So frustrating, guys. All right. I'll tell you what, guys, I am going to call it a night, but be on the watch out. Probably Friday. I'm going to wait a little bit to put up the confidence picks since there's no game on Thursday. So probably on Friday is when, and early Saturday is when I'll put up the confidence pick video, the Jets versus Dolphins bold prediction and score prediction video, and the full Jets versus Dolphins game preview as well. So everybody, I want to thank you all for joining me tonight. Hope it's a better 2025 for all of us than it was 2024. Stay strong. Tough as it is, better days are ahead. So everybody, enjoy the rest of your night, and I will see you right back here with more content from you know where. Come back with a kicker on Friday, please. All right, we'll do. The Wicker Chair. Have a good night, everybody.